The first sign wasn't the nightmares. It was the way my apartment looked, touched, but never changed. Every morning, my chair was pushed in just a little too neatly. My mug sat in the sink, clean, when I knew I hadn't washed it. And my bed felt warmer on one side. I told myself I was sick, overworked, imagining things. I had no idea someone was imagining me back. I'm 32, a senior analyst, single, living alone in a one-bedroom apartment on the fourth floor of a quiet building in the city, the kind of place people describe as safe. Key card entry, security cameras, neighbors who nod but never ask questions. I worked long hours, 12, sometimes 14 a day. By the time I came home, my body felt hollow, like something had already taken everything out of me. I started feeling off in small ways, headaches that wouldn't leave, bruises I couldn't explain, a constant exhaustion that sleep never fixed. Doctors said stress, vitamin deficiency, burnout. I believed them because believing I was sick felt safer than believing something was wrong with my home. It began with nights. I would wake up at 3:11 a.m. every time. No alarm, no sound, just awareness. The air felt thicker, like someone had been holding their breath. Sometimes I swore I heard fabric moving, a slow drag, as if something underneath me shifted its weight. I checked my locks obsessively. Closets, bathroom, behind the shower curtain, nothing. And yet my body kept reacting as if danger was real. My heart would race before my mind caught up. I'd feel pressure on my legs, on my wrists. Then nothing. Morning always came, and I always blamed myself. One evening, I came home to find my laptop open. I know I hadn't touched it. I never leave it open. The screen showed a paused video, news footage I'd never watched. I laughed, actually laughed. "Okay," I said out loud, "you're officially losing it." That night, I locked my bedroom door for the first time. I woke up on the couch. I don't remember moving. I stopped trusting mirrors. Every morning, I stood in front of the bathroom glass longer than necessary, studying my reflection like evidence instead of a person. Not to admire myself, to inspect. Some days there were faint bruises, soft, shadowed marks that didn't belong to any memory. They appeared in places I couldn't explain, then faded before I could even decide whether they were real. Other days, there was nothing visible at all, yet my body felt sore in a way that didn't match sleep or stress. I pressed my fingers into my own skin, testing it. Does this hurt because something happened, or because I'm expecting it to? That question followed me throughout the day. I started showering twice a day, sometimes 3 times if I could justify it, not because I felt dirty, but because my body felt handled. There was a lingering sensation on my skin, like contact that had happened without permission or memory. No matter how hot the water was, the feeling stayed. Soap slid over me without relief. Towels felt unfamiliar, almost invasive. It was as if my body remembered something my mind had locked away. At work, my reactions began betraying me. When a coworker stood too close, my shoulders tensed. When someone brushed past me in the hallway, my breath caught sharply in my chest. Once, a colleague said my name softly from behind, and I nearly jumped out of my skin. I laughed it off, apologized, made jokes about being tired. I had become very good at pretending everything was fine. But my body wasn't pretending anymore. It reacted before I could think, before I could reason, before I could lie to myself. Sleep stopped feeling like rest. It felt like surrender. Every night as I lay in bed, there was a quiet dread beneath my thoughts, a fear without a clear shape. Mornings came with a strange heaviness in my bones, like I had been somewhere exhausting while unconscious. Not pain, not injury, just aftermath. My clothes sometimes felt different on my body, as if they'd been adjusted. My pillow didn't always smell like me, and my phone, My phone made my hands shake when I reached for it in the morning because part of me was afraid of what time it would say. 3:11 a.m. Again, always. Alongside the physical discomfort came something worse, confusion layered with shame. I felt guilty without understanding why, ashamed without knowing what I had done. It was the kind of feeling that makes you question yourself instead of your surroundings. The kind that convinces you to stay quiet, to doubt your instincts, to apologize for reactions you don't understand. So I explained it away. Stress, burnout, loneliness, hormones, anything sounded better than the truth trying to surface. Because admitting something was wrong with my apartment meant admitting something far more terrifying, that my instincts were screaming while my mind kept making excuses, that my body knew I wasn't safe long before I was brave enough to believe it. By the time I decided to test my fear, I was already exhausted from doubting myself. I needed proof, not for the police, not for anyone else, for me. That night, I went to bed earlier than usual. I turned off the lights, lay flat on my back, and focused on my breathing. Slow, even, intentional. I told myself I would not fall asleep, not completely. I wanted to know what my body seemed to know. Minutes passed, then longer stretches of silence. My thoughts wandered, but I kept pulling myself back, afraid that even a second of sleep would steal something from me again. At exactly 3:11 a.m., the air changed. It wasn't a sound, it was a pressure. The mattress dipped slightly, carefully, as if whoever or whatever was there understood the importance of moving slowly. My heart began to race, but the rest of me did something unexpected. I froze, not out of bravery, out of instinct. I felt a subtle shift near my legs, fabric brushing fabric, a presence close enough to disturb the air around my skin. I wanted to scream, to move, to prove that I was awake, but my body didn't let me. It chose stillness. It chose silence. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a horrifying thought formed. If I don't react, maybe this will end sooner. That was the moment I understood. This wasn't just fear. It was survival. Woke up late the next morning. Again. My head felt heavy, as if I had been pulled out of deep water instead of sleep. My body ached in places that didn't hurt enough to be injuries, but enough to feel wrong. There was a strange emotional distance, too, like I was observing myself from slightly outside my own body. My phone wasn't where I had left it. My bedside lamp had been turned off. The curtains were drawn tighter than usual. Small things, careful things. I checked my email while my coffee went cold in my hands. Messages had been sent during the night. Not random, not sloppy. They sounded like me. Same tone, same phrasing, same professional calm. I stared at the screen, my chest tightening as a single realization settled in. Someone wasn't just in my apartment, they were using my life. The exhaustion I felt suddenly made sense. Sleep wasn't rest anymore. It was absence, time I couldn't account for, hours where my body was present, but my mind was not. I started leaving lights on at night, started locking doors twice. It didn't help, because the fear no longer lived in the dark. It lived in the idea that my home knew someone else as well as it knew me. I bought the camera on my lunch break. Small, cheap, almost insulting in how ordinary it looked. The kind of thing people use to watch pets, not to confirm nightmares. I hid it behind a row of books on my shelf, angled just enough to see my bedroom door and the side of my bed. That night, I didn't sleep at home. I stayed with a friend and barely spoke. I laughed when expected, ate when offered, but my mind was already back in my apartment, waiting. The next morning, I sat alone on my couch and pressed play. At first, nothing happened. Hours of empty footage, stillness, silence. Then, 3:11 a.m. My bedroom door opened, slowly. Something moved near the bed, low, controlled, too practiced to be accidental. A man crawled out from beneath my bed. He didn't rush, didn't hesitate. He stood there for a long moment, looking around my room like it belonged to him. Then, with a familiarity that made my stomach turn, he lay down where I sleep and closed his eyes. That was when I stopped breathing. I didn't go back inside. I stood in the hallway outside my apartment, phone shaking in my hand, staring at my door like it might open on its own. Every instinct in my body screamed the same command: leave now. I went straight to a hotel across town. I didn't pack, I didn't change clothes. I just locked myself in a room that didn't know me and sat on the floor until my breathing slowed. That was where I called the police. Explaining it out loud felt unreal, like I was telling someone else's story. I kept waiting for disbelief, for raised eyebrows, for that subtle doubt people get when fear sounds too quiet. But they listened. When they searched my apartment, they found things I wish they hadn't. Food wrappers hidden behind vents, empty bottles tucked into spaces I'd never looked, a narrow crawl space beneath my bed, wide enough for someone to live in if they stayed very still. They said he had been there for weeks, watching, learning, waiting. I moved out that same day. Different city, different building, different locks, but safety didn't move with me. Because I learned something no lease could erase. You can leave a place and still carry what happened there inside your body. They caught him 2 days later. He hadn't gone far. The officer spoke gently, the way people do when they're trying not to break something already cracked. He told me the man was transient, no permanent address, a history of obsession and fixation. He believed, the officer said carefully, that you were aware of him. That sentence made my stomach drop. They told me what he had said during questioning, that I was calm, that I never screamed, that my silence felt like permission. I asked the question I'd been afraid to ask since the beginning. Did he hurt me? The pause was enough. What they explained was clinical, detached, focused on facts instead of feelings. But all I heard was confirmation of what my body had known long before my mind caught up. Fear doesn't always fight. Sometimes it freezes. Sometimes it cooperates. Sometimes it survives quietly. The officers avoided my eyes when they left, because the hardest truth wasn't what he did. It was how easily silence had been misunderstood. Months passed. I learned new routines, new streets, new ways to fall asleep. Most nights I'm fine, but sometimes I wake up without knowing why. I don't check the time anymore. I don't look under my bed, because the real fear doesn't live there. It lives in the way my body still reacts before my thoughts do, in how silence can feel loud, in how safety feels temporary. I've learned something since then. Danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it waits patiently while you explain it away. Sometimes it survives because you're tired, polite, unsure. And sometimes the most frightening part isn't that someone was hiding beneath you. It's that for a while, your body learned how to endure it, quietly, automatically, without asking permission. And that kind of survival changes you forever. Have you ever felt like someone was watching you, even when you were alone? Comment below if you've ever experienced something that made your skin crawl. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that stay with you long after the lights go out.